Summer is right around the corner, and I know a lot of us have been struggling with getting out of a lazy era or getting out of a rut. I know that I've personally experienced that recently in the second quarter of 2024. So I want to share with you tips that have been helping me get out of a rut or get out of a lazy era, because I know that summertime is around the time we want to feel the best about ourselves and the time where we are kind of like fed up with our behavior, right? I know that this is a time where a lot of people feel into laziness and really give up on their habits, routines, and goals. So I want to share with you what has really been helping me get out of a lazy era or get out of a rut. And I think the first thing you should know or find out is the reason why you can get out of your rut or the reason why you can get out of your lazy era. And it doesn't have to be psychological, like I fear success or I fear failure, whatever. It doesn't have to be a deep-rooted reason, but simply what in your environment or in your routines is preventing you from getting out of your lazy era or getting out of your rut. And once you find out what is preventing you in your environment to get out of your lazy era, you can better find solutions to actually get out, leave your lazy era. And I want to share with you what I feel like must be the most common reasons why people are stuck in a rut or stuck in the lazy era. And the first thing I would say is that your days are unstructured. Like you literally don't know what you should be doing. For example, you might have a vision of your perfect day. You want to wake up early, you want to meditate, you want to journal, you want to do all these things, and you also have a night routine. But if you're not clear about what you should be doing in your day, and if you don't make a decision to do the things you should be doing, you will always be stuck in this rut and you will never change. Because that's something I realized when I fell off. I knew what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to go to bed early, wake up early, and do my morning routines, etc. But day after day, I could not do all that. And one day I made the decision, tomorrow morning, you're going to do this, and that. And I actually structured my day. I made a to-do list of my morning routine. You're going to meditate, you're going to journal, you're going to stretch, whatever. And that day, I actually did it because I structured my day, and my day wasn't just a fog in my mind, because it's easy to tell yourself, oh, I want to do this, and that. But if you don't actually physically structure your day and plan it ahead, you will not do the things you want to do. You might have an idea of what you want your days to look like, but if you don't have a clear physical alternative, then you will not be able to get out of your rut. So instead of going to bed thinking, oh, tomorrow I would like to do this, and that, just literally plan it and write it down and say, like, between 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. I'll do this. Between 9 a.m. to 9:30 I'll do this. Having this physical structure will help you actually take action and do it. And the other thing, in my opinion, is cheap pleasures and cheap dopamine. I feel like this is the reason why most of us can't get out of a rut, because we are surrounded by cheap pleasures and cheap dopamine, scrolling on social media, watching movies, TV shows, watching YouTube, playing video games, all these things that literally clutter our mind. You should really figure out what is preventing you from getting back on track and what is keeping you in your lazy era. And for me personally, it was because my days were not structured. In my head, I knew what I was supposed to do, but I never made a conscious decision that tomorrow I'm actually going to do this, and that. And I never actually wrote it on paper. Therefore, I never took action because it was a fog. It was in my head, and it was not really a plan. I knew what I had to do, but I never made the decision to do it. So that might be the case for you as well. Your days are not structured. And the second thing might be that you might be surrounded by so much cheap pleasures and cheap dopamine that it's actually hard for you to get back on track. And I know that it was my case personally. Now that you know what is keeping you in this rut, in this lazy era, you need to start working on solutions, right? And I want to share with you some things that you can do and something that I do every time I fall off and end up in a lazy era. Okay, so the first thing that can help you is figure out what makes you feel shitty in your current life, in your current routine, and do the opposite of that, because the opposite of that is what you value and what you strive to be more of. I think when people try to change their lives and start being productive and consistent, etc., they add habits. They literally add new habits into their lives instead of taking their bad habits and turning them around, literally doing the opposite. So instead of trying to add more habits into your life, like meditating, reading, running, whatever, just take your bad habits, what makes you feel shitty, and do the opposite of that. Personally, for me, what makes me feel the shittiest is waking up late. I literally cannot stand waking up late. So for me personally, what I needed to work on was getting up earlier, and it's literally just the opposite of what makes me feel shitty. This is the best way you can improve your life, is just by doing the opposite of what makes you feel shitty instead of adding new habits into your life that is not even going to be sustainable in the long run. And the best thing is to actually create new routines based on that. Instead of adding new habits, say like, I'm going to change my sleep schedule. I hate waking up late, which means that I value waking up early. And if I want to wake up early, that means that I need to go to bed earlier the night before. I mentioned cheap pleasures and cheap dopamine being the reason why a lot of us are stuck in a rut. And the solution to that is just to cut cheap pleasures and cheap dopamine as much as possible. And I think you need to be strategic when you do that. And what has really had the most impact in my life is cutting cheap dopamine the hour after waking up and 1 hour before going to bed. So what I mean by cheap pleasures and cheap dopamine is literally scrolling on social media, watching movies, watching TV shows, watching YouTube videos, anything that is related to screens, honestly. So what has had the most impact for me, it's not really about cutting cheap dopamine altogether. It's really about cutting it at strategic times. And for me, the most strategic times are 1 hour after waking up and 1 hour before going to bed. And the reasoning behind that is that what you do in the first hour of your day will dictate how you will feel during your day. So if you spend your first hour indulging in cheap dopamine, your mindset for the rest of the day is going to be based on that. And why no screens and cheap dopamine, cheap pleasures before going to bed? It's because when you watch a movie or a TV show or scroll social media right before going to bed, your brain is actually, I don't want to say like hyperactive. I don't know what the word is, but basically you're stimulating your brain so much by just watching a movie or a TV show or scrolling on social media just before going to bed. And by cutting that, you will be able to sleep better. It's literally just about that, because your brain will not be as stimulated. Therefore, you will fall asleep faster and sleep better. That's why, to me, you need to be strategic. If you want to cut out cheap pleasures and cheap dopamine, I'm not saying that you should cut it out altogether, but at least be strategic. And the more you cut out cheap dopamine, the better you will be able to find the willpower and find the motivation to get back on track. Because like I said, cheap dopamine is actually cluttering your brain. It is preventing your brain from thinking rationally. You're just in this bubble of, I only draw pleasure from doing cheap things, like passive, very, very passive things. And the more you disconnect yourself from cheap dopamine sources, the better you'll be able to have willpower and motivation to do the things that will make you feel better about yourself. When we're trying to get out of a lazy era, we tend to work on all habits. We tend to try to be perfect. We want to be perfect. We want to get back on track on every front. We want to bring back every habit. But I want to share with you something strategic that you can do instead of focusing on every habit and trying to be perfect and trying to be at your 100, because that's not really realistic. If you're in a lazy era, it's not very realistic for you to get back on track completely. So something I want to share with you and that has been helping me is to focus on the most impactful habit. What I mean by that is the habit that will have the most impact in your life. The one habit that will solve most of your problems and will have a domino effect on other habits that you want to reintroduce into your life. And I want to share with you what is the most impactful habit for me, and it is reading for at least 1 hour before going to bed. So to find my most impactful habit, I just looked at my routine. So before I got into this lazy era, I looked at my routine, my morning routine and my night routine, and I tried to find what is the one habit that is going to have the most impact on me in my life. And like I said, I value waking up early. So if I want to wake up early, I actually need to go to bed earlier. And to do that, first of all, no cheap dopamine before going to bed, nothing stimulating my brain like watching a movie or a TV show or watching YouTube, whatever, none of that. And I realized that this was the one habit I should reintroduce first if I wanted to get back on track and get out of my lazy era. And it worked. It actually worked. So I made time just to read for an hour before going to bed. And I've been able to go to bed earlier and to wake up earlier. And in the morning, I actually had more motivation and more willpower to do my morning routine. So you need to find the one habit that will have the most impact and that will have a domino effect on your other habits. So for me, it was reading, and it is reading, but it could also be working out. For example, if you want to eat healthier, if you want to drink more water, or if you want to have more energy, working out could be the solution for you. It really varies from person to person, and it depends on your goals. Me, like I said, I really despise waking up late, and I realized that waking up late was the reason why I had no motivation to actually be productive and be consistent and show up. So the solution for me was to go through my routines, my morning routine, my night routine, and pick the one habit that was going to have the most impact in my life overall, and that would help me get back on track. Along the lines, I think you should also try to do something that leans towards productivity first thing in the morning. I want to present to you two scenarios. Imagine you wake up, you stay in bed, you pick up your phone and you scroll on social media for about 30 minutes to an hour. Versus you wake up and you get out of bed as soon as you're fully awake and you do something productive. Like, it's not even productive, but something that leans towards productivity. And to me, that is, for example, getting out of bed as soon as you're awake, making your bed, opening your window, and just tidying your room a bit. Like if there are clothes that are laying on the floor or on your desk, just like tidying your room a bit. And to me, if you do that versus staying in bed and scrolling on social media, this will lean towards productivity, because which scenario makes you feel wanting to be productive? Is it staying in bed and scrolling on social media for 30 minutes, or getting up as soon as you're awake and making your bed and tidying your room a bit? And I'm not saying that this is productivity per se, but it leans towards productivity. So the way you choose to start your day, the things you decide to do in the first minutes upon waking up are going to determine the type of day you're going to have. And this has really to do with your mindset, because if the first thing you do upon waking up is scrolling on social media and staying in bed, you will not have the willpower to do anything productive. But if you start your day doing something that leans towards productivity, you will feel more confident about doing something productive with your day. And something I want to add is that visual clutter leads to mental clutter. If your environment is messy and untidy, you will feel mentally cluttered. So something that I always do when I wake up and I feel like shit, I clean my environment and I feel 10,000 times better. And that's something that I encourage you to do. When you feel like shit, tidy your environment and do something that makes you feel a bit productive, right? It doesn't have to do a full workout or a full productive thing, studying, working, whatever, but at least doing something that makes you feel productive right after waking up. The last two things I want to share with you are less game changing, I would say, but still you can apply them. First thing is to break down the process as much as possible, because when you're lazy, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by anything. Literally, the most mundane thing is going to feel overwhelming. So, for example, if I write in my to-do list that I need to create a video for YouTube, this is going to be so overwhelming because there are so many steps into creating a video. So if I see that in my to-do list, I will actually not do it. If I'm in a lazy era, I will actually have no willpower to create a video for YouTube. So that's why it's important, I feel like, when you're feeling lazy, to break down the process as much as possible. So for me, when I create a video, the steps are finding a video topic, outlining the video, recording the video, editing the video, and scheduling the video. Yeah, those are basically the steps. And if I write down these 5 steps in my to-do list, I will actually feel more confident whenever I achieve something. Like if the first thing is to find a video idea and I do it, then I'll feel more confident. I'll feel like I've accomplished something and it will encourage me to actually go on. So this is just an example, but if you feel overwhelmed by everything and anything, break down the process as much as possible. And the last thing I would say that is also helping me is to set a timer. Whenever you have to do something that you don't want to do, set a timer. And this is more about challenging yourself. It will challenge you mentally. Just the act of setting a timer will increase the chances that you'll actually do something about it. For example, if I'm in bed and I know that I need to clean the bathroom, I'll set a timer for about 30 minutes and then I'll wait for a bit and then I'll see the timer and it'll actually challenge me, I see it as a challenge, so I'll actually get up after a while and go to the bathroom and try to clean the bathroom as fast as possible before the timer runs out. You can try that, and I do that when I'm really desperate and I really have no willpower to do anything. I do the timer method and it helps me actually act on what I know I should be doing. So those are the things that are helping me whenever I fall off or whenever I'm in my lazy era or whenever I am stuck in a rut. And I hope some of the things I said, some of the advice I shared can help some of you. The last thing I want to add is to not expect too much for yourself too soon, because we all want to be perfect. We all want to get back on track in one day, but know that it is actually very unrealistic to expect from yourself to get back on track in just one day. And you should give yourself time to actually get used to being productive and disciplined again. So it's not going to happen overnight. Maybe you're going to make a little progress and then you're going to fall off a bit and make some more progress. You're not going to accomplish all your targets and all your goals every single day. But what matters is that every day you show up and you try. And that's really what I want you to keep in mind, to not be too hard on yourself, because as long as you try, it means that you have the will to be better and to do better for yourself. And this is the last thing I wanted to say before I end this video. I hope you found value in the things that I shared today. And if you did, you can leave a comment and tell me what resonated with you. You can subscribe for more videos like this. I am rooting for you as always, and I hope to see you in the next video.